Welcome to GovCon Clarity with Dr. Lori Smith, where strategies replace guesswork and readiness replace wishful thinking. With over 4 decades inside government systems, Dr. Lori breaks down what agencies actually evaluate: capacity, compliance, and credibility. If you're ready to compete at the federal level, not just apply, this is where clarity begins.
Hey, let me tell you what happens in almost every initial conversation I have with a founder. I ask, how's the business doing? And the first thing they tell me is revenue. And look, revenue matters. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't, but revenue is a lagging indicator. It tells you what already happened. It doesn't tell you whether you're getting stronger, more sustainable, or more ready for what's coming. So today, I want to give you a different set of numbers to pay attention to. The numbers that actually tell you whether your business is building readiness or just building volume. Welcome to GovCon Clarity with Dr. Lori Smith. I'm Dr. Lori Smith, the founder and CEO of Archaeologist LLC and the founder of SoNRC's Empowerment. This is episode 10 of our Systems Before Scale series, and we're talking about the metrics that matter when you're building a business, designed to hold federal work. So let me connect this to where we've been. So in episode 7, if you remember, we built your operating systems around rhythms, roles, and rules. Then in episode 8, we made governance a living practice. And in episode 9, you designed your readiness pathway with primary and secondary lanes. So now the question becomes, how do you know if any of this is working? How do you know if you're actually closing the readiness gap or just staying busy? And the answer is measurement, but not the kind of measurement most people think of. I'm not talking about dashboards and KPIs and analytics platforms. I'm talking about a small set of honest indicators that tell you month over month whether your systems are actually getting stronger. And I call it the 4-quadrant readiness metrics. And this framework organizes readiness metrics into 4 quadrants, and I want you to track at least one metric from each. So for numbers, you can track them on a sticky note if you want. The tool doesn't matter. The consistency does. The 4 quadrants are pipeline, delivery, compliance, and people. Pipeline tells you if you're pursuing the right work. Delivery tells you if you can execute it. Compliance tells you if your governance is holding up under that execution. And of course, people tells you if the human beings inside the business, including you, can sustain it. When all 4 quadrants are healthy, revenue takes care of itself. When any one of them slips, revenue actually is the last thing to reflect the damage. So let me walk you through each quadrant in detail with the specific metric I recommend for most small businesses. Quadrant 1, delivery. This is going to be your operational health. This answer is, can we deliver consistently? The metric I recommend is on-time delivery rate. What percentage of your deliverables, milestones, or project commitments were completed on time this month? Not close, not the client didn't complain, actually on time, per the agreed schedule. Because if you're above 90%, your operations are working. If you're below 80%, you have a system problem, a capacity problem, or a scoping problem. This single number tells you more about your operational readiness than any revenue figure ever will. Quadrant 2, this is your compliance. This is your governance health. The question you're going to ask here is, are decisions being made well and documented? The metric decision documentation rate is what you're going to measure. So the significant decisions made this month, how many were made according to your authority map and documentation? You don't need to track every tiny choice. Focus on the ones with financial, contractual, or any kind of compliance implication. If you made 10 significant decisions and documented 7 of them with proper authority, that's 70%. Your target should be moving toward 90% over time. Now, this numbers tells you whether, again, your governance is a living practice or a paper exercise. And quadrant 3, people. This is your capacity health. The question you're going to be asking here is the leader sustainable? Here, I recommend tracking what I call founder hours per week. How many hours did you personally work this week? Not how many you were available, how many you actually worked. Now compare that to what's sustainable for your long term. If your sustainable number is 4 to 5 hours and you consistently log 60, your capacity is being consumed faster than it's being replenished. And that gap will eventually show up in your decision quality, your delivery quality, and your health. Now, this number doesn't need to be perfect every week, but trends matters. Is it going up, down, or is it stable? And is it heading towards sustainable? And quadrant 4, this is your pipeline. And this is pipeline health, right? So this question is, are we pursuing the right work? The metric will be your bid or no bid ratio. Of the opportunities that enter your pipeline this month, how many did you bid on versus how many did you deliberately decline? If you're bidding on everything, you don't have a pipeline discipline. You have pipeline panic. A healthy bid no bid ratio for a growing small business might be 3 to 1 or 4 to 1, meaning you are saying no to the 3 or 4 for every one you pursue. That's not leaving money on the table. That's protecting your capacity and your reputation for the opportunities that actually fit. Again, 4 quadrants, 4 numbers: pipeline, delivery, compliance, and people. Track them monthly. Review them in your governance review. Look for trends, not perfection. And when something moves in the wrong direction, ask why before it becomes a crisis. I want to add a quick technical note here for those of you who are tracking past performance. That's going to be your CPARS. This is a 3-year shadow. That's the Contractor Performance Assessment Reporting System. It's required on contracts above the simplified acquisition threshold, which is $250,000 for most contracts and $7.5 million for commercial items. Your ratings: exceptional, very good, satisfactory, marginal, or unsatisfactory. They stay relevant for 3 years and flow into the Past Performance Information Retrieval System, or PPARS, which evaluators pull from when they are scoring your next bid. So a CPARS rating isn't just feedback, it's a 3-year shadow on every future proposal. So I want you to track it like you do revenue. Revenue is the last metric to reflect a readiness problem. The 4 quadrants are the early warning system. Let me share a quick story, that illustrates why this matters. I worked with a firm that was growing quickly. Revenue was up 40% year over year. From the outside, everything looked great. But when we looked at their operational health metric, on-time delivery had dropped to 68%. Their governance documentation rate was about 50%. And the founder was working 65 hours a week, and they were bidding on literally every opportunity that came through the door. Revenue said success. Every other metric said approaching failure. And sure enough, it was like within 6 months or so, they had a CPARS issue, lost a subcontract relationship, and the founder was in a full burnout cycle. Revenue was the last thing to drop. And by the time it did, the damage actually was already done. So the story is not unusual. It's the norm for businesses that measure only revenue. Revenue is the last metric to reflect a readiness problem. By the time revenue drops, the operational, governance, capacity, and pipeline issues have been compounding actually for months. So the metrics I'm giving you today are the early warning systems. They're going to tell you what's happening before it shows up in your bank account. So here's your step check right now without looking anything up. Can you tell me your on-time delivery rate for last month? Your decision documentation rate, your average weekly hours, your bid no bid ratio. If you can't, you're flying blind. And flying blind in federal contracting is how businesses get cure notices, bad CPARS rating, and reputation damage that follows them for years. So here's your action from this episode. I just want you to set up a simple tracking system for these 4 metrics. It can be a single sheet of paper divided into 4 quadrants: pipeline, delivery, compliance, and people. At the end of this month, fill it in. Then do it again the next month and the month after. By month 3, you'll have a trend. And that trend will tell you more about your readiness than any revenue report ever could. So if you want help identifying which metrics matter most for your specific business and stage, that's something we build in Clarity assessments sessions at Accuelegant. The link is in the show notes, so click on it if you want to contact me for a Clarity assessment. Now, in our next episode, we're going to address something that's been simmering beneath every episode of this series, and that's founder dependency. What happens when you are the system? How do you intentionally reduce, the dependency so your business can function, deliver, and even grow without requiring your presence in every room and every decision? That's the conversation that we're having next. I look forward to joining you all here back again. I'm Dr. Lori Smith. This has been GovCon Clarity. And like I always say, readiness protects what ambitions pursue. So builds what hold the opportunity and what hold you. Bye for now.